There's a reason some people constantly feel financially empty, even when money enters their life regularly. And strangely, ancient teachers believe the problem often began long before the money disappeared. It began in the mind, because according to old wisdom, a person who cannot appreciate what already exists will rarely manage abundance wisely when it arrives. Now that sounds uncomfortable, especially in a world where people are constantly told to focus only on what they lack. More money, more status, more success, more possessions, more validation. And because of this endless comparison, millions of people quietly live inside permanent dissatisfaction. No matter what they achieve, no matter what they earn, no matter what they receive, it is never enough. Ancient teachers warned about this mentality constantly because they understood something powerful. Gratitude changes the way a human being handles money. Now listen carefully. This is not about pretending problems do not exist. It is not about denying hardship. And it is definitely not about fake positivity. It is deeper than that. Ancient wisdom viewed gratitude as a form of internal alignment, a mindset that protects people from emotional chaos and destructive financial behavior. An old teacher once used the analogy of two travelers crossing the same land. The first traveler focused only on how far he still had to go. Every step felt frustrating. Every delay felt painful. Nothing satisfied him. The second traveler appreciated every piece of progress along the journey, the shelter, the water, the lessons, the growth. And strangely, the second traveler reached the destination with greater peace and clearer judgment. That story was never only about travel. It was about human psychology, because people trapped in constant dissatisfaction often make terrible financial decisions emotionally. They overspend trying to feel successful. They compare constantly. They buy things to repair insecurity. They chase lifestyles they cannot sustain. And eventually, their finances begin collapsing under emotional pressure. Ancient teachers noticed this pattern centuries ago. That is why gratitude was considered a form of wealth protection. Now think carefully. Why do some people keep increasing their income but never feel financially peaceful? Because their desires keep expanding faster than their appreciation. An uncontrolled desire creates endless pressure. Ancient wisdom compared this to drinking salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. This is exactly how endless comparison behaves. Social media magnifies this problem today. People constantly see images of luxury, travel, success, perfect lifestyles, and slowly they begin feeling poor even when they are progressing. This emotional dissatisfaction quietly destroys discipline, because grateful people manage money differently from desperate people. A grateful person sees resources as tools. A desperate person often sees money as emotional rescue. And this difference changes behavior dramatically. Now here comes one of the deepest truths ancient teachers understood. Gratitude creates patience, and patience is deeply connected to wealth building. Why? Because impatient people constantly interrupt their own progress. They spend too quickly, quit too quickly, compare too quickly, chase shortcuts too quickly. But grateful people often move with more stability, more calmness, more long-term thinking. This is why ancient wise men believed gratitude protected people from financial self-destruction. Now listen carefully to this next truth. A person who constantly focuses only on what is missing eventually becomes blind to what is already working. And blindness creates waste. People waste opportunities, waste relationships, waste income, waste growth, because dissatisfaction keeps whispering, "It's not enough." And over time, that mentality becomes dangerous. But ancient wisdom taught something different. It taught people to manage what they already had wisely before chasing more endlessly. Because according to old teachings, the person who respects small blessings usually becomes more capable of handling larger ones. And in the next part, you're going to discover why gratitude changes not only emotions, but actual financial behavior itself. Because there's a hidden psychological connection between gratitude and wealth that most people never notice. There was once a farmer who harvested enough food every season to survive comfortably. But instead of appreciating what he had, he obsessed constantly over what other farmers possessed. One had more land. Another had larger animals. Another had a bigger home. And because of this endless comparison, the farmer stopped managing his own farm wisely. He spent recklessly trying to imitate others, borrowed carelessly to appear successful, and eventually, the farm that once sustained him began collapsing slowly. Ancient teachers used stories like this to explain a dangerous truth. Comparison silently destroys financial wisdom because ungrateful minds often become emotionally unstable with money. Now think carefully about this. Many people do not spend because they truly need something. They spend because they feel behind. Behind friends, behind coworkers, behind strangers online. And this emotional pressure creates destructive financial habits. Ancient wisdom understood this deeply. That is why gratitude was viewed as protection against unnecessary desire, because gratitude helps people focus on stewardship instead of competition. Now listen carefully. One of the greatest financial advantages a person can develop is emotional stability, and grateful people tend to make calmer decisions. Why? Because gratitude reduces desperation. A desperate person feels constant urgency. Urgency to impress. Urgency to prove something. Urgency to escape insecurity. And desperate financial decisions are usually expensive. This is why ancient teachers warned that inner peace affects outer wealth, because emotional chaos often creates financial chaos. Now, here comes another truth nobody likes admitting. Some people secretly sabotage their finances because they believe success alone will finally make them feel worthy. So they chase expensive appearances emotionally, luxury purchases, status symbols, validation through lifestyle. But ancient wisdom warned that external wealth without internal gratitude creates endless hunger. No amount ever feels satisfying, and eventually, the person becomes trapped in permanent dissatisfaction. Ancient teachers compared this mentality to carrying a basket with holes. No matter how much entered, nothing stayed long enough to create peace. Now notice something important. Grateful people are usually better savers, not because they avoid enjoyment completely, but because they already recognize value in what they possess, which reduces impulsive emotional consumption. Meanwhile, ungrateful thinking constantly whispers, "You need more to feel complete." And that mindset keeps people financially restless. Now, here comes one of the strongest ancient financial principles. Respect multiplies responsibility, meaning people who appreciate resources tend to manage them more carefully. This applies to money, time, relationships, opportunities, everything, because appreciation naturally creates attentiveness. A grateful person notices waste faster, protects opportunities better, values progress more deeply, and over time, these behaviors quietly build stability. Now imagine two builders constructing houses. The first builder constantly complains about every tool he already owns. The second builder maintains and respects his tools carefully. Years later, which builder is more likely to create something lasting? That was the ancient philosophy behind gratitude. Gratitude was not passive emotion. It was disciplined awareness. Now listen carefully to this next truth. Many people believe wealth automatically creates peace. Ancient wisdom disagreed, because peace is often a mindset developed before wealth arrives. That is why some rich people remain anxious constantly, while some financially disciplined people experience deep stability even before becoming wealthy. And gratitude plays a major role in this, because grateful people tend to operate from sufficiency instead of panic. They think long-term, move carefully, spend intentionally, and appreciate progress instead of constantly feeling deprived. But there is still another hidden reason gratitude transforms financial life so powerfully, a reason connected to human focus itself. And once you understand this next principle, you may begin seeing opportunities around you that frustration previously blinded you from noticing. Ancient teachers believed the human mind behaves like a lantern in darkness. Whatever the lantern focuses on becomes illuminated. Everything else disappears into shadow. And according to old wisdom, this is exactly what happens financially. People who focus constantly on lack usually notice more reasons to feel deprived, more comparison, more frustration, more scarcity, more discouragement. Meanwhile, grateful people often notice opportunities others ignore completely, and this changes behavior in powerful ways. Now think carefully. Two people can experience the exact same financial situation, yet respond completely differently. One becomes bitter, complains constantly, feels cursed, and slowly stops noticing possibilities around them. The other remains appreciative for what still exists while continuing to improve gradually. And strangely, the second person often adapts better over time. Ancient wisdom understood this deeply, because gratitude sharpens awareness instead of drowning it in emotional negativity. Now listen carefully to this next truth. Negative thinking consumes enormous energy. Constant complaining, constant envy, constant dissatisfaction. These emotional states drain focus and discipline quietly. And drained people usually make weaker financial decisions. They procrastinate, overspend emotionally, lose motivation, abandon long-term plans. This is why ancient teachers viewed gratitude almost like mental protection, not because it magically creates money, but because it protects clarity. And clarity affects behavior. Now here comes another uncomfortable truth. Many people cannot enjoy financial progress because comparison keeps resetting their satisfaction. The moment they improve, they immediately compare themselves to someone further ahead, and suddenly their own growth feels meaningless. This creates endless emotional exhaustion. Ancient wisdom warned that comparison destroys contentment faster than poverty itself, because even abundance feels insufficient when the mind refuses appreciation. Now imagine a man carrying water from a river daily. Instead of appreciating the water he already gathered, he becomes obsessed with the larger containers other people possess. So distracted by envy, he eventually spills his own water repeatedly. That was the ancient analogy for ungrateful living. Distraction from appreciation creates carelessness, and carelessness eventually creates loss. Now notice something powerful. Grateful people often build stronger financial relationships too. Why? Because appreciation attracts trust. People naturally prefer working with appreciative individuals rather than constantly dissatisfied ones. And trust creates opportunities, business opportunities, career opportunities, partnership opportunities, even mentorship opportunities. Ancient teachers understood that gratitude influences how others experience your energy. A constantly bitter person repels support slowly, but appreciative people often inspire cooperation and goodwill. Now, listen carefully to this next principle. Gratitude also changes how people handle setbacks. A grateful person facing difficulty often asks, "What can I still learn, protect, or improve?" An ungrateful mindset often asks, "Why is life always unfair to me?" And these different questions create completely different futures, because the questions people repeat internally shape the direction of their attention. Ancient wisdom understood this deeply. Now, here comes perhaps the most important financial truth in this entire discussion. Gratitude does not stop ambition. It purifies ambition. It removes desperation, fear, and emotional emptiness from pursuit of success. Meaning, a grateful person can still desire growth, still build wealth, still pursue excellence, but without being psychologically controlled by endless dissatisfaction. And that creates a different kind of success entirely. But there is still one final ancient lesson about gratitude that completely transforms how people experience money, peace, and long-term abundance. An old teacher once said something that confused many people at first. The richest man is not always the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least to feel complete. At first, his students misunderstood him. They thought he was speaking against ambition, but he wasn't. He was warning against emotional slavery. Because ancient wisdom understood something modern society often ignores. A person can possess enormous wealth and still live internally poor, always anxious, always comparing, always dissatisfied, always chasing another level that never finally brings peace. And according to old teachings, this endless inner emptiness eventually damages financial judgment itself. Now think carefully. Why do some people destroy their finances trying to maintain appearances? Why do some wealthy individuals continue taking reckless risks even after achieving success? Why do some people spend beyond their means despite already having enough? Ancient teachers believe the answer often came down to one thing: an inability to feel gratitude. Because without gratitude, enough never exists. And when enough never exists, desire becomes uncontrollable. Now listen carefully to this next truth. Gratitude creates emotional balance, and emotional balance protects wealth. A grateful person is less likely to make panic purchases, less likely to overspend for validation, less likely to destroy peace chasing unnecessary comparison. And over years, these small disciplined decisions create enormous differences financially. Ancient wisdom compared gratitude to roots beneath a tree. Nobody sees the roots directly, but they determine whether the tree survives storms. Likewise, people often notice wealth externally, but they rarely notice the internal mindset supporting it. Discipline, patience, contentment, awareness, and gratitude. Now here comes one of the most powerful lessons ancient teachers repeated constantly. What you appreciate, you protect. That applies directly to money. People who appreciate resources tend to waste less, plan better, save more carefully, spend more intentionally, and slowly build stronger financial foundations over time. But people trapped in chronic dissatisfaction often behave recklessly because emotionally nothing feels valuable enough. Now imagine two kings ruling separate kingdoms. The first king constantly complains that his kingdom is too small, so he neglects what he already controls while obsessing endlessly over expansion. The second king strengthens and appreciates his existing kingdom carefully before expanding wisely. Years later, which kingdom becomes stronger? That was the ancient lesson about gratitude and wealth. Appreciation strengthens stewardship. Now listen carefully to this final truth. Gratitude does not mean settling for mediocrity. It means refusing to become blind to present blessings while pursuing future growth. And that balance is powerful, because people who appreciate progress tend to stay disciplined longer. They burn out less, compare less, and move through life with greater emotional stability. Ancient teachers believed the stability itself attracted wiser financial decisions, because calm minds usually build better futures than desperate minds. So the next time you feel financially discouraged, pause for a moment. Look carefully at what already exists, the opportunities, the lessons, the growth, the progress, the abilities you still possess. And remember this ancient truth. Gratitude is not merely an emotion. It is a mindset that protects peace, sharpens wisdom, and transforms the way human beings handle wealth itself. If this message opened your eyes, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who constantly feels financially frustrated no matter how hard they work. Because sometimes the transformation people seek externally begins internally first.